There comes a time in every person's life when the noise of the world grows too loud, when even the smallest moments of stillness feel like a luxury, and the weight of invisible burdens presses against the soul. Ways to find inner peace does not promise to silence the chaos outside, but it gently, wisely reminds us that the calm we seek is not out there. It is within, waiting, patiently, like the quiet ripple in a deep lake, undisturbed by the winds above. This book is not a manual. It is a journey back to the self, layer by layer, breath by breath. The author begins by unmasking a simple truth: most of us have been taught to chase peace in all the wrong places. We look for it in achievement, in recognition, in the approval of others, or in the comfort of material things. But true peace, lasting peace, is never found through accumulation. It is found through surrender. The first lesson this book shares is the art of letting go, of control, of resentment, of the stories we tell ourselves about who we need to be. Many people live their entire lives in the grip of perfectionism, constantly seeking to fix, to improve, to achieve. Yet, paradoxically, peace arrives not when everything is fixed, but when we can sit with things as they are. There's a poignant story in the book of a woman named Lena, a corporate executive who seemingly had it all: status, wealth, respect, but every night, she lay awake, anxious and hollow. The author invites us into her inner world, not to judge her ambition, but to feel her longing for something real. It wasn't until Lena took a sabbatical, disconnected from her screens, and began walking in nature each morning, that she first heard the whisper of inner peace. Not a booming revelation, just a whisper. She began to notice the sound of leaves crunching beneath her feet, the warmth of sunlight on her skin. And in those fleeting moments, she remembered how to be. That is the second great lesson of the book: presence. Inner peace, the book reminds us, is not an escape from life. It is a deeper immersion into it. When we're present, fully, authentically, unapologetically present, we begin to engage with life as it is, not as we fear or wish it to be. Presence brings clarity. It slows down time. It quiets the mind's chatter. But presence requires practice. The author shares simple yet powerful practices: mindful breathing, slow walks, digital detoxes, heartfelt conversations, and even the courage to sit in silence. These are not trendy techniques, but ancient paths walked by sages and seekers across time. Another core insight from the book is that peace is relational. It's not just about how we feel with ourselves, but how we show up in our relationships. Are we honest? Are we kind? Are we listening with empathy, or merely waiting to speak? So many inner storms are born in the quiet resentment we harbor, in the forgiveness we withhold, not because we're cruel, but because we are wounded. The book gently nudges us to revisit those wounds, not to reopen them, but to heal them with compassion. The story of Arjun, a man who hadn't spoken to his brother in 15 years, is especially moving. After attending a meditation retreat, Arjun wrote a simple letter: not to blame, not to argue, but to say, "I miss you. I wish things had gone differently. If you're willing, I'd like to talk." That letter didn't erase the past, but it began to untangle the knot in his heart. Forgiveness, the author writes, is not about declaring someone right. It's about declaring yourself free. Equally important is the relationship we hold with ourselves. The book reveals how so many of us speak to ourselves in ways we would never speak to others: harsh, critical, unloving. We carry shame for things long gone, guilt for moments we cannot undo. But peace can never coexist with self-loathing. It requires radical self-acceptance. The author shares a powerful metaphor here: imagine holding a younger version of yourself in your arms. Would you scold them, or would you soothe them? Would you berate their flaws, or remind them of their worth? That child still lives in each of us. When we begin to love ourselves the way we needed to be loved, the war inside starts to end. One of the most transformative chapters in the book centers around the concept of alignment, living in alignment with our values, our truths, our inner compass. Much of our unrest comes from the gap between what we do and what we believe. When we act against our truth, be it staying in the wrong job, the wrong relationship, or living inauthentically to please others, our soul feels the dissonance. The longer we ignore that inner tug, the louder the unrest becomes. Real peace isn't passive. It often requires brave choices. Sometimes, it means saying no. Sometimes, it means starting over. The story of May, a schoolteacher who left a toxic relationship after 12 years, is a reminder that peace is not always comfortable, but it is always worth it. She didn't find peace the moment she walked away, but in the quiet mornings that followed, when she brewed her tea without fear, when she danced alone in her kitchen, when she looked in the mirror and saw herself again. The book also honors the power of ritual and routine. Inner peace is not just an emotional state, it's a lifestyle. How we begin our mornings, how we wind down our nights, the way we speak to our loved ones, the food we nourish ourselves with, the way we treat our environment, all of these play a role. Peace, the author teaches, thrives in consistency. A peaceful life is not void of struggle, but it is filled with intention. Lighting a candle before meditation, journaling before bed, saying grace before meals. These small acts anchor us. They remind us of the sacredness hidden in ordinary moments. Another profound insight woven through the book is the connection between acceptance and peace. We are so often at war with reality. We resist aging, we grieve what might have been, we fight against the unfairness of life. But suffering, the author says, often lies in the resistance, not the event itself. Acceptance is not the same as giving up. It is the courageous act of seeing things as they are, and choosing to respond with wisdom instead of bitterness. The story of a father who lost his child to illness is told with incredible tenderness. His grief never left him, but with time, he stopped asking why it happened, and began asking how he could honor the love that still lived in his heart. He created a community garden in his son's name. He turned sorrow into service. That is the miracle of acceptance, it transforms pain into purpose. Finally, the book reminds us that peace is not a destination. It is a companion. It walks beside us when we slow down enough to notice. It speaks softly when we quiet the noise. It shows up not in grand achievements, but in gentle moments, a warm cup of tea, a hug from a friend, the silence between words, the breath that brings us back to now. To find peace, we must be willing to pause, to listen, to return to the breath, to forgive, to love, to be present, and most of all, to remember, peace is not something we need to earn or chase. It is our natural state, beneath the fear, beneath the striving, beneath the noise. The book closes with an invitation, not to become someone else, but to come home to yourself. Because the truest peace is not found in a temple, a mountain, or a retreat. It is found in the heart that remembers its own ananas, in the soul that no longer seeks permission to rest, in the spirit that chooses love over fear, again and again.